They really aren't kidding when they say that call is the law. Holy cow, St. Louis. That was incredible. Welcome, everybody, to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared, and I represent the 904 from the 602, and today we have a lot of content about the United Football League. Apologies I couldn't get this out earlier. Had a lot of stuff to do and was at the Final Four for both the semifinals and the final. So I've been really busy lately. Want to get this out sooner, but we are doing a lot of UFL content today on JG9 News, breaking down the attendance numbers, TV ratings, some other stuff as well on the ESPN side of things. A dumb decision. We got a lot of stuff coming. And we're going to start with the attendance numbers for week 2. We're going to break down what these numbers are, what they mean, whether they're good, whether they're bad, and we're just going to go from there. Usually I go in chronological order in terms of the games. I'm going to do that, but I am going to start with the game that took place on Saturday night with the St. Louis Battlehawks in their win over the Arlington Renegades. 40,317 fans packed the dome to watch the Battlehawks play, setting a modern spring football record in the United States. There's nothing really to say here. Battlehawk fans are awesome. They did a great job getting fans to come out. Incredible atmosphere. The rally at Ballpark Village, they pumped up the event. The atmosphere looked insane. That is a city that is rallied behind that team, and you can see it. It's the first time in the 21st century that a non-NFL pro football game drew a crowd of over 40,000 people. Absolutely incredible stuff for the Battlehawks. A+ all the way around. The question is, how high does this number go from here? That's the question. St. Louis was a good team last year, but keep in mind, the attendance dipped slightly as the season went on. No cause for concern whatsoever, but the number did dip slightly as the season went on. Yet 35,868 fans for their game against the DC Defenders in Week 5. That dipped to 35,167 for their game against Vegas in Week 8, dipped to 33,142 for their game against Seattle in Week 9, and 33,034 for their game against Orlando in Week 10. Again, nothing too concerning, but it did dip. It didn't really go up. Now, the next home game for St. Louis is Saturday, April 20th against the Memphis Showboats. I have no clue why that's the case. I think this was terrible planning on the part of the UFL, terrible part on everyone's part, because the St. Louis Cardinals play at the same exact time at Busch Stadium against the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, keep in mind, on Saturday, the Cardinals played at home, but the Battlehawks played at home at night, and the Cardinals played during the afternoon, so you can make a doubleheader out of it. Now, for this game, you'll have to pick and choose. Do you want to see the Cardinals play, or do you want to see the Battlehawks play? They're definitely not breaking 40K for this one. It might actually be the lowest attendance yet for a Battlehawks game, because the Cards play at the same time. It wouldn't shock me if they drew under 33,000 and had their lowest attendance yet. Any number above 30K would be incredible. I don't get why these games are interfering with MLB teams. You have a game that's Saturday at 12:30 and a game at 7 o'clock. So I know this is a TV league, but why not just have St. Louis play at 7 and Birmingham, the team that is playing at 7 o'clock that night, play at 12:30? Why not just do that? Why not flip-flop it so as not to interfere with the Cardinals? The fans can make a doubleheader out of it, go to the Cardinals game in the afternoon, go to the Battlehawks game at night. It would look better for TV. It would draw better TV ratings because people like tuning in for better atmospheres. I think more casual fans like watching St. Louis than any other team, not just because they have A.J. McCarron, not just because on paper they have a pretty good offense, not just because Marcel Amen might be the favorite for Offensive Player of the Year right now, but because the atmosphere looks absolutely incredible. The Dome looks like a place that you want to be. And I don't think the atmosphere is going to be that great in Week 4, relatively speaking, because they schedule the game at the same exact time the St. Louis Cardinals are playing at home. Not sure why that was the case. Not sure why they didn't flip-flop the times. Either way, great number for St. Louis for their home opener, and we'll see where they go from here. 40,317. Don't think they get that high in Week 4, but we'll see as the season goes on. And especially if they make the playoffs, host a playoff game, I can't imagine what that number is going to be. I cannot imagine. Now, that's good. The bad, the Memphis Showboats, which was the game that took place earlier that Saturday, drew a crowd of 8,791 fans. There's no real way to slice it other than saying that that's not good. No way to sugarcoat it. That's not a good number. Now, there were no attendance numbers last year from the USFL. They didn't report any of the numbers outside of Birmingham's home opener, so we don't really have an idea of how many people Memphis brought to their games last year in the games that they played at the Liberty Bowl, but something is very clearly not working here. Something is not right. The Memphis Express in 2019 in the Alliance of American Football, the AAF, they were an awful football team. Absolutely terrible. Worst team in the league. They were unwatchable. But those games averaged 12,000 fans, and that was with the very clear knowledge early on, after Week 1, that this league was in dire straits and might not be around for a while. After Week 1, There was a report that the Apollos were kicked down. They had to practice in Georgia in a different state because they couldn't afford to practice in Florida. We knew this league was in trouble. They brought a new owner in with Tom Dundon, with the Carolina Hurricanes and Topgolf and everything like that. And it was not a well-run league. And even despite that, and despite that knowledge, the Express drew 12,000 fans. The Memphis Showboats drew, for their home opener, mind you, way less than that. 8,791. Now, I haven't been to Memphis. I can't say for myself, but I have seen people say that the marketing is not good there and that they're not really promoting the team the way that other cities are. Plus, there was an early start time, 11 o'clock local. The crowd filled up for the second half. It looked noticeably fuller for the second half than the first half. Looked like a typical Orlando Guardians game for the second half of that game. First half looked deserted. But either way, something has to change. And it doesn't make sense to reasonably think about expansion from a market standpoint until we have 8 solid concrete markets in place. I know a lot of people like expansion talk. I like expansion talk, but realistically speaking, you need 8 solid markets before you can expand to more markets. And right now, I cannot confidently say that Memphis is a solid market if the numbers stay like this all year. Memphis might just not be a great sports city. That might be what it comes down to. Look, the Memphis Grizzlies ranked 3rd from the bottom in attendance this year. Now, the team is trash, but they've been near the bottom quarter of the league in attendance for a while now. Obviously, I'm not going to hold the Tennessee Oilers situation against them because they got screwed over by the NFL, but there were not a lot of crowds that came to Liberty to watch NFL football in 1997. Again, not holding that against them, just pointing it out. Memphis might not be the best sports city in the world. Now, the next home game is not until April 28th. They have some time to get the word out there and ramp up marketing efforts, but I would definitely be a bit concerned with the attendance number here. Now, on Sunday's slate, the Michigan Panthers, they drew the lowest crowd of the season for any team, 7,475 fans. You thought after week 1 that Jake Bates' 64-yard field goal, the upset over St. Louis, maybe people will come to the Panthers game for week 2. That was not the case. As in their game against the Birmingham Stallions, they drew a decrease of about 2,000 fans from week 1. Now, obviously, I'm not saying this crowd is a good number. I'm not saying 7,000 fans is a good attendance, especially at Ford Field. But I am going to give Michigan a bit of a pass for this one because of poor scheduling. The deck was absolutely stacked against them. I have no idea who thought this was a good idea, but you look at the competition that Michigan had to face, not good. The Detroit Tigers played a game at the same exact time at Comerica Park right across the street. A Sunday afternoon baseball game on their opening weekend against a team that they were expected to beat, the Oakland A's, plus beautiful weather, plus a good start to the season. They were 6-0 at one point. Yeah, people want to watch the Tigers play. And if you don't want to watch the Tigers play, you want to watch the Red Wings play, because the Red Wings in the NHL also played at the same exact time at Little Caesars Arena, fighting for a playoff spot against Buffalo. The Panthers were obviously going to be the third fiddle. We all knew that. Michigan sports fans having to choose between watching the Red Wings fight for a playoff spot, watching the Tigers in their opening home series on a beautiful day for baseball, and let's call it for what it is in the eyes of many, minor league football. They're not cheering the Panthers. The Panthers are a distant third. Again, 7,475, not a good number, but there was so much competition that the deck was stacked against them. I did say that in my last attendance breakdown. This could impact the numbers a bit, so I will give them a bit of a pass here. It's not good, but I am going to give a bit of an asterisk next to that. Having said that, their next game, Sunday, April 14th against Houston. I have no clue why they're starting the season with 3 home games in a row. Having said that, there is no Red Wings game to worry about. There is a Detroit Tigers game. The Tigers do play at home against the Twins on what's expected to be a beautiful day for a game. 74 degrees, 15% chance of rain as of this video. Again, I don't get why they're starting the season with 3 home games in a row. That conflict going to put a dent in the numbers. I would expect a bump. They're not going to draw 7,475 because there's only 2 things happening, not 3. But they're not getting 5 figures. I'd be very, very surprised if they get 5 figures for this game with the Tigers playing across the street on a beautiful day at Comerica. Which takes us to the final game of the week, the DC Defenders in their win over the Houston Roughnecks. 15,052 fans packing Audi Field for the game, comparable to their average from 2023, but most notably and most encouraging, a 2,500 plus fan increase over their 2023 home opener against the Seattle Sea Dragons, which drew 12,438 fans. This is a great number, especially because the Nationals were playing on the same day. The entertainment dollars / the time dollar might have been split. Now, the next home game for the Defenders is April 28th. there are some pros and cons. The con, obviously, the defenders do not look as good this year as they did last year. Last year made it to the XFL Championship. We're running train on the league. They were 9-1. They were a very, very good team. This year, they don't look as good. This year, they are probably the second weakest team in the league, only ahead of the Houston Roughnecks. I'm going to do some power rankings. I have DC at 7 right now. They don't look as good. Having said that, though, no competition on April 28th. The Nationals don't play at home that day. Obviously, the Washington Capitals could be in the playoffs. They could have a game, and they could host that game, and that could change everything because who knows who's getting that final wildcard spot in the East. It's a complete mess right now. But assuming good weather, assuming no Caps playoff game on that day, especially because they're playing St. Louis, it would not shock me if not only if they drew an increase, but if they drew 17,000 fans. If you have good weather, you don't have a Capitals playoff game on that day, I could see 17,000 fans easily packing Audi Field for their next home game, which would come in Week 5 on April 28th. So again, in terms of the attendance numbers, St. Louis, incredible. DC, really, really good. Michigan, I'll give him a bit of a pass. It was not good, but I will give him a bit of a pass. Memphis, we've got some major troubles in Memphis right now. We've got some issues right now. Now, Birmingham will host their first game in Week 3. They're the last team to have an opening home game. We'll see what happens in Birmingham. The numbers don't look great right now from a ticket sales standpoint, so we'll see what happens there. Hopefully they can draw a good crowd. They have no excuses whatsoever. Two-time defending champions, established team in the city. They have no excuses whatsoever. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens in Week 3. But those are the attendance numbers for Week 2. What are your thoughts on the crowds in the UFL? What are your thoughts on these numbers? Do you think they're good numbers? Do you think they're bad numbers? What number do you think the Battlehawks will draw for their next game? What do you think they're going to draw as the season goes on? Do you think 40,000 is going to be the record? Do you think they could surpass that record potentially? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that is going to do it for this episode of JJ9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, Jaguar Gator 9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. And we also stream all the UFL games on that channel. Thank you guys for making that the #1 place to watch UFL games on YouTube. We've had the #1 live play-by-play color commentary stream on YouTube every game that we've done. We've done 6 of them so far, and we're going to do way more of them as the season goes on. So thank you guys so much for that. And thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, JJ9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.